According to a 1992 geographical survey done by the McLean County Genealogical Society, there were 116 known cemeteries in the county. Our guest voices for this year's walk, Sigmund and Hilda Livingston, are visiting from the Jewish Cemetery. Located in South Bloomington, the Jewish Cemetery was founded in 1875. Prior to this, the Jewish population of Bloomington had no place which to lay to rest the remains of their deceased loved ones. The closest Jewish burial ground was in Lincoln, Illinois, nearly 30 miles away. 1 acre of ground was purchased for $250, which would be about $6,325 today. And the first burial occurred in 1876. An additional acre of ground was purchased to the east to expand the cemetery in 2005. Members of the Moses Montefiore Temple congregation manage and care for the cemetery, and the cemetery acts in accordance with Jewish laws. In 2015, Harry Stern, a member of the Jewish cemetery community for over 50 years, created a video tour of the cemetery, sharing stories about friends and family, along with information about the history of the cemetery itself. Stern also shared how it is customary in the Jewish faith to leave a small stone on a grave. Visitors position the stone on the grave using their left hand. This serves as a sign to others that someone has visited the grave and that someone was thinking about the deceased. Next, we will meet Sigmund and Hilda Livingston. Born in Germany, Sigmund was one of 8 children born to Mare and Dora Livingston. He came to Bloomington with his family when he was 10. Sigmund's father owned the Newmarket store at Front and Center Streets. This building was later occupied by the Montgomery Ward business. After graduating from Illinois Wesleyan University Law School in 1894, Sigmund teamed up with his law school colleague, William R. Bach. Hilda Freiler was born in 1891 into an affluent Elgin, Illinois family. Her father, Philip, was a successful liquor wholesaler. Hilda graduated from Elgin High School in 1908, where she was the recording secretary for the drama club. Hilda and Sigmund married in 1916. They lived in a comfortable home at 1320 East Grove Street and had 1 child, Richard, who was born in 1920. The seeds of the Anti-Defamation League, or the ADL, of the B'nai B'rith were planted in Bloomington. Founded in New York in 1843, the B'nai B'rith advocated for global Jewry and championed for human rights everywhere. Believing that publicity would help to alleviate prejudice, Livingston established the Publicity Committee of the Publicity Bureau in 1908, which grew into the ADL in 1913. Livingston was the first president of the ADL and continued in this position until his death in 1946. Sigmund, although successful in Bloomington, moved with Hilda to Highland Park, Illinois in 1929, where he joined the law firm of his brother-in-law as a corporate counsel. Hilda, widowed at age 55, participated in women's clubs and activities in Highland Park. She was skilled at flower arranging and somewhat of an expert on early American antiques. There is no evidence of her being an active participant in ADL activities. We will now welcome our guests to Evergreen Memorial Cemetery, Sigmund and Hilda Livingston.
I've been waiting for you, Hilda.
Well, here we are, Sigmund, back in Bloomington where it all began.
No matter how long we lived in Highland Park, McLean County has always been home.
We spent the first years of our marriage right here, in a handsome home on East Grove Street.
Oh.
Our son Richard was born here.
We did. And he was. Even when we moved to Chicago for work, I maintained my counsel here, kept connections and clients, and still oversaw my 16 farms.
Your first ties to B'nai B'rith are rooted right here in Bloomington.
Oh, Abraham Lincoln Lodge, 190. Who would have guessed that those ties and founding the Anti-Defamation League would have occupied as much of my passion and attention as the law?
The law and your unwavering war against anti-Semitism. You started the whole thing. It all began, remember, the founding charter says it all. The immediate object is to stop by appeals to reason or conscience, or if necessary by appeals to the law, the defamation of the Jewish people. You are the moral compass for the ADL.
And you are too kind.
And you, my dear husband, are far too modest.
Oh, but pride cometh before the fall. And I've always thought that the pen is mightier than the sword.
Ever the unassuming Sigmund. Think about it. You started a grassroots organization that peeled back the onion of social injustice layer by layer and left the world a better place. Jews were being lynched, mocked, marginalized, and discriminated against from the classroom to the boardroom and everywhere in between. Letter campaign by letter campaign, brief by brief, from libel suit to threatened boycott. You took on the hate groups like the Ku Klux Klan, the movie moguls, the Associated Press, even the United States Postal Service. You were the one who raised the alarm against the Nazi campaign to infect the United States with their heinous strain of anti-Semitism. Are you listening to me? Oh, you founded and led the premier social organization Justice of Our Time. And then you crisscrossed the country and the world carrying its banner and its message.
We're here.
Well, of course we're here, Sigmund, but why here? Why Evergreen Memorial Cemetery? We're interred at the Moses Montefiore Temple's Jewish cemetery.
You said it when we first arrived. Here we are, back where it all began. It's time to pay our respects.
Oh, William R. Bach, your old law partner and friend.
Oh, let us follow the Jewish custom of leaving a visitation stone on his headstone. Here, take that in your left hand. Will and I graduated first and second from Wesleyan Law. I was the first Jewish lawyer in the area. Even my neighbors were surprised, but Bach never raised an eyebrow. We founded the firm, Livingston and Bach, shortly after graduation, and we were partners so long as some people are married.
I was just 2 years old when you graduated law.
Oh, you didn't know Bach in his prime. You know, if it wasn't for his nudge to have a little fun in Chicago, well, on business, my epiphany might never have occurred.
Your epiphany?
I was in Chicago and had a few hours to kill between appointments. I dropped into a vaudeville theater. Now the trained dogs and acrobats were entertaining, but the comedians were anything but funny. Their whole offensive shtick, their bum jokes, dialects, hyperbolic antics, was at the expense of Jews. I walked out of that darkened theater in the middle of an act and literally saw the light. It started things in motion.
You put things in motion, Sigmund.
It was all very clear to me, Hilda. To hate a person because he is of a certain race, nationality, sect, or creed is to be devoid of all reason and sense. It has no place in a functioning democracy.
And you, of all people, would understand reason and sense.
So, surprisingly, the vaudeville house managers had no idea that the acts on their bill were racially offensive. Jewish jokes and parodies of Jewish immigrants was the order of the day. It's been a long lesson to teach the world that words matter.
Words like "no Jews wanted" in resort ads. Words the Associated Press would use to describe Jews and only Jews by religion when reporting a crime.
Those were early victories. But speaking of words, we got Roget's Thesaurus to remove offensive language. They had defined Jew as synonymous with cunning, rich, usurer, extortioner, and heretic. The editors apologized and agreed to change the definition.
I love the way you confronted prejudice with reason and won. I also love how you broadened the lens of the ADL to include all victims of bigotry and oppression.
Well, that was our mission from the start. Its primary purpose is to secure justice and fair treatment to all citizens alike, and to put an end forever to unjust and unfair discrimination against and ridicule of any sect or body of citizens.
Oh, I look forward to the day when the work of the ADL is done, to a world with no need to even approach that mission.
As do I. The denigration of any group in books and newspapers, on stage and movies, in textbooks and classical literature, and in common gossip is not only irritating, it is downright dangerous. I did my best during my lifetime to shed the light of publicity on the underbelly of bigotry. And it was my motivation for my book, Must Men Hate?
Not an easy read. I clipped and kept from the Chicago Tribune, the review, in my own personal copy. This is a calm, reasonable, and reasoned approach to a subject highly charged with emotion.
You saved that clipping?
Well, that one and so many others. Unlike my paltry collection of clippings, which would talk about floral arranging presentations and the article about the time I was driving and was robbed by those 3 men impersonating policemen. They got away with $30,000 in jewelry.
Those pearls were never recovered, were they?
No, nor was my pride.
Pride is overrated, my dear. And in the end, justice will prevail. Let us take our leave now and return to our own eternal rest.
In his speaking engagements around the world, Sigmund Livingston discouraged prejudice and advocated for education about Jews and Judaism. He was a prolific lecturer and writer, displaying a keen knowledge and understanding of history. The ADL, founded by Livingston, continues to thrive today. Its current mission is to, quote, stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatments to all, end quote. Livingston believed that hate and fear could be overcome through education and had faith in the essential goodness of the American people.